G'day everyone, Dicko here with another kick-ass review, and this one's coming courtesy of XP Pen and their brand new Artist Pro 16 Generation 2. Yes, I know that's a massive mouthful to get across, but it does come with a swath of improvements versus the previous version, which I want to talk about today in this review. And alongside that review, I'm also going to go through a full production cycle of creating a character from sketch to animation. So not only are you going to get some perspectives on one aspect of the production process, you're going to get a perspective on the entire process in regards to using this tablet. So if you want to stick around and get more information about that, but also find out how I made this character, please stick around and we'll jump into it in just 1 second. But first, I just want to give a huge shout out to all those people who have recently signed up on Patreon and YouTube membership. It's been amazing to see the support that's been coming through recently. And for those who have also been supporting the live streams with super chats and all sorts of stuff, it's been awesome. So if you are interested in supporting the channel more, please feel free to sign up. You get ad-free content, you'll get source files and Discord privileges on Patreon especially, so you can share your ideas, get feedback, and just join in on the conversation as well, which is really fun. It's been really active recently, so it's been awesome to be able to engage with all of you. So again, thank you for those who have supported the channel so far. So with all that being said, let's jump into the unboxing of this thing and then jump into some sketching. All right, let's jump into it.
All right, so let's get into the unboxing. Firstly, I just want to say how cool the packaging is on the outside. The artwork is amazing. And then on the outset, you see the tablet with some nice protective coating. You have the logo on the back, and then you have the kickstand at the top. And this only has one setting. It doesn't have multiple kickstand levels. It just has the one. And the cool thing about the XP Pen in general is that they always come with cool stuff. So you got the warranty card, and inside that box, you also have a glove. And inside this box, you have two kinds of cables. One with a USB-C to USB-C, and then the other one is just a standard power USB setup. Now, if you don't have USB-C, you have the standard power bricks, which come in all flavors, including American, the great old Australian one, you got the European one, then you got the King's one, the good old British chunky boy. Now, one of the biggest improvements with this model has got to be the pen and the pen housing with regards to what accessories it comes with. So, not only do you have a pen with better ergonomics, you just press it to open it up, and there's the pen. You also get different kinds of nibs, which include 4 plastic ones and 4 felt tip ones. And then on the top there, we have a Bluetooth receiver for the remote, which I'm going to show you in a second. Now, the pen feels really good in the hand. It's solid and it's just the right kind of weight, so it doesn't feel too heavy or too light. The rubberized grip feels good and of a higher quality. And then we also have an eraser and 2 buttons on the side. Now there's the little Bluetooth dongle for the remote, and you just plug it into your USB on your computer for when you want to use it. Now, going into that remote, this is probably one of the biggest changes from the previous version. And what this is essentially a mini shortcut deck for brush sizes, for custom shortcuts. And it feels a little bit plasticky for my liking, but it is quite effective. Has a nice clickiness to the buttons, so it doesn't feel too cheap on the buttons. And the thing I love about this versus the previous version is the scroll wheel. Now, in the previous version, that was a smooth rotational feeling to it, which was really annoying because you'd often make mistakes and knock it by accident. But with this one, it's got a clicky stop click feeling to it, so you can't really knock it by accident. And now we got some more USB cables for the power and for the data, all that sort of stuff. But the nice thing about this tablet is the fact that you can do a direct USB-C to USB-C, which also includes power and the screen transmission, which means no more annoying cables going under your desks, no more power bricks if you have access to a USB-C with USB-C 3, and it means a much more cleaner, much more portable experience. And that's it, that's all that's in the box. But given that it is a mid-range tablet, you get quite a lot for what you pay for. Now, going into the tablet itself, it still has a really good feel to the build quality. So the back has this sort of brushed aluminium backing, and then the kickstand feels nice and solid, and the screen has this nice matte finish. So unlike the previous version, which has a glossy finish, this one reflects way less light, so it's a lot easier to work with if you have light streaming into your room, for instance. Now, as I said, the kickstand's really simple. Just knock out the legs and they feel solid. It doesn't rock on the table when I use it, but it only has one setting. So it can't be tilted up or down. It has the one tilt setting. So it can't be adjusted in the same way that, say, a Surface laptop can. Now, on the table, it looks really clean, really minimal, and really neat compared to my other setup, which requires a lot more cabling. Now, it is worth mentioning that this is not a fully fledged computer. It doesn't come with an operating system or any hard drive space or anything like that. It is purely a monitor with a pen input device. So the idea is that you connect it to a PC or a laptop and you work with it in that regard. Now, the tablet itself, again, doesn't have any touch capability, which I don't mind. I don't personally use it that much in my workflow, but for some people that might be a strike against it. But enough of that, let's jump into some drawing tests using the tablet. Now, the first thing I noticed as soon as I put my pen to the tablet was just how smooth the experience was. First, the actual feeling of my hand on the screen felt so much nicer than the previous version. I didn't feel like my hand was sticking to the screen as much because of that matte finish. And the other thing I noticed, which was really, really impressive, was just how responsive the pen was. So I don't know if I can attribute this to the way the drivers are set up or anything like that, or the new hardware improvements on the pen. So it features some new processing unit in the pen called the X3, which basically gives it way more pressure sensitivity points, like 16,000 pressure sensitivity points, which is double the previous version. And it's a really unique feature of this tablet. But ultimately, I can feel it. I can feel this sort of more precision in my brush strokes, which is awesome. So everything felt so smooth. There was no real wobble in the way that I was doing my brush strokes, and it felt very direct. So as soon as I hovered my pen over the tablet, it registered instantly, which is something that I haven't experienced in some time. Now, I also own a XP Pen Artist 24 Pro, which is an older model, but the bigger screen. Now, that pen doesn't have nearly as much accuracy and smoothness to it than this model. So if I was going to choose between the 16 and the 24 today, I would go with the 16 hands down. Now, if you're considering going with a 24-inch tablet or the 22-inch tablet, I would actually wait to see if they bring out a new version with this new X3 pen technology, because I feel like you'd be missing out on a really positive drawing experience if you didn't get that pen. Another notable improvement that you can tell with this tablet versus the previous 16-inch model is the resolution of the screen. So it's been bumped up to a 2K resolution screen, which I feel is ideal for a 16-inch tablet. I wouldn't really want to go beyond 4K. I feel like the things on the screen would look too small at 16 inches. So having a 2K display is that sweet spot, in my opinion, for a drawing tablet of this price point. And what you get is a really nice, clear drawing experience with a nice, clear screen as well. Now, it's not as bright as your standard monitors, and that's generally the case with most drawing tablets. But in this case, I feel it might be a little bit more dull than what you might experience. So take that into account when you're looking at options. Okay, so comparing it with the previous version of the 16, you can see that the previous version is a lot wider and all the buttons are actually featured on the tablet itself. And if you look at the screen, you can tell that the screen is actually a lot more glossier than the new version. So it's reflecting a lot more light. Now, looking at the different pen housings, you can see the difference in the logo, the older logo and the newer logo. But opening up the pen housing, you'll see that the old version only came with these plastic nibs. Even though you may have come with more, they're all the same kind. So if you want a different drawing feeling or drawing experience, you have to go and find or purchase different nibs. Now, with the new version, you'll see that the pens are actually quite vastly different. So the new version has this rubberized grip and this sort of tapered ergonomics, which is reminiscent to other pro style tablets. Now, looking at the older pen, you can see it's a lot more plasticky and a lot more slimmer. Now, some people might actually find that more comfortable. I sometimes find that more comfortable, but for many people, this new pen is going to be a vast improvement in terms of ergonomics and comfort. Now, comparing this to the Apple Pencil, you can see a big difference in the thickness of the pen and also the kind of nib that is used. Now, personally, I can't stand the Apple Pencil. It doesn't have the right kind of feedback when you put it to the screen. It's very stiff. And you have to recharge the pen as well, which of course nowadays is done wirelessly through the iPad. But with these pens, you get this sort of spring-like feeling in the pen, so it feels like you're actually touching paper, and you don't need to charge the pen. The pen has no batteries; it's just done through induction. So as soon as you open up the box, you can start using the tablet. Now, the nib on the Apple Pencil has this little receiver and plastic bit on top, whereas if you want to take off and replace the nib on the XP pen, you just have to remove the plastic housing and you're good to go. There's no screws or anything like that involved. So to remove the pen nib with the XP pen, you just put it into this little circly thing and then just leverage it out, and easy peasy. So I've gone ahead and tried out the tablet with some sketching, and I've been very happy with the progress so far and how it feels. But this is a 3D channel. I do sculpt on this channel. I do a lot of 3D characters. So let's go ahead and give it a go with this character here. And again, straight off the bat, it was really comfortable to use. And the nice thing about the tablet and having the kickstand inbuilt is that I didn't have to rely on any additional accessories to tilt the tablet up. Now, I had to do that with the previous version because that had no kickstand, no tilting ability at all. So I had to actually purchase a separate XP pen stand to be able to tilt it up. So not only does it add an additional cost to the previous version, it also made my office feel a little bit more cluttered when I had to put the tablet away. Now, the feeling of using this tablet in Blender was pretty much seamless. I felt really comfortable sculpting on this tablet. The resolution especially makes it a lot easier to sculpt with, and the extra resolution also helped with my recording, so I can actually mirror my tablet on my monitor and on the tablet at the same time, and the resolution matches, so I didn't have to worry about scaling issues when it comes to these YouTube videos. Nice thing about having no buttons on the screen meant I wasn't accidentally clicking them or accidentally brushing my hand against the scroll wheel and causing my brush sizes to move or anything like that. Now, when it comes to the remote, the nice thing about the remote is that you can choose which direction you want to use that extra remote. And if you want to use it or not is up to you completely as well. It's not an essential part of the tablet experience. So I found that I would use the remote largely for the scroll wheel, for changing my brush size. And then I would sometimes use the shortcut hotkeys that I've programmed onto the remote for certain things. Now, the only issue I had with the remote was that it didn't really accept multiple keystrokes. So I wanted to make a Control-Z shortcut, but it wouldn't recognize me holding down what essentially is a shift button or a control button and then Z. It would treat them as separate inputs, which wasn't ideal. Now, I noticed when I tried this at PAX a few weeks ago that this worked on Windows. I'm not sure why it didn't work on the Mac, so it might be a driver issue in that regard. That being said, you can program those buttons to do anything you want, and you can program them for app-specific purposes. So if you have shortcuts in Blender that you want to have, that you use all the time in Blender, you can program it so when it opens up Blender, you can set the shortcuts to work on that. And then if you jump into Photoshop, it will have a preset set of shortcuts you can use with that program as well. So it's really up to you how you want to customize that remote and how you want to utilize it to its fullest potential. Now, I will end up using it a little bit more, I think, once I get used to it. But because Blender is such a shortcut-heavy software, I find myself defaulting to the keyboard a lot more. But with stuff like Photoshop, for instance, using the scroll wheel and using the click wheel is much more natural to me. And that was the same with other tools such as the toolbox that I've talked about in the past. Now, one nice thing I noticed about using this tablet versus the last few that I've had over the last few years is that I found myself gravitating to using the pen when doing retopo. And I think that comes down to the precision level of the tablet pen, because as soon as you put that nib onto the screen, it puts the cursor exactly underneath the pen. And the nice thing about that is because the screen is laminated, you don't have to look underneath the pen to see where you're clicking. So I found myself using the pen a lot more for retopo, which requires a lot of fine clicking. And that was a real benefit for my wrists, where if you're clicking constantly to do retopo, you get pretty sore wrist after a while. So having the pen be able to do that was great. That being said, after like 6-7 hours of doing 3D artwork, you're still gonna get a little bit tired when doing any kind of drawing. So taking some quick breaks is always gonna be a benefit. And I would say that the ergonomics of this pen helps you keep your hand a little bit more relaxed.
Alright, so we've got the sculpt out the way, and I will say there are some pros and cons to using the remote with Blender. Now, one of the biggest things that is both a pro and con within Blender itself is the fact that it's so keyboard heavy, which means that you're only limited with the amount of shortcuts you can program onto the little remote. Well, personally, I would like to have a Control-Z shortcut and also a Z shortcut on the same button, but I can't do that at the moment. I'm not sure why. It might be a driver issue, but that's the breaks. So I find myself using the remote more so in sketching programs such as Photoshop and stuff like that over, say, Blender, but I will use the click wheel somewhat during the sculpting process in Blender, where I find myself reaching out to just increase and decrease the size of the brush. So there are pros and cons to using the remote. That being said, it's not essential to that process, and you're more than likely going to be switching between the remote and the keyboard anyway in most circumstances, so it's good to have the option anyway. And also, when it comes to retopo, using the tablet has surprisingly been quite comfortable. So with the precision in mind, because the pen is so precise and so close to the actual screen, with that laminated screen, I find myself using the tablet pen to actually move around vertices, which is quite hard to do with the tablet when you have such pinpoint accuracy required. So it's great to see the accuracy on that has been improved somewhat with the new version. That being said, let's jump into some texturing now and see how it performs there in, say, Substance Painter.
Jumping into a few other things that I found myself using the tablet for was hair grooming. So that was really cool. It felt really good to be able to just move the hair around, the hair particles, using geometry nodes with the brush. I know that a lot of people would do this normally with any tablet, but it felt quite nice to be able to do it with this one. It felt responsive. The nice thing about this tablet is because of the lack of input lag, you don't accidentally end up putting the hair where you don't want it. And I would get that sometimes with other tablets that I've used before. Now, going into the texturing process using Substance Painter, it felt great. There was no issues there. And it felt very much like using it in Photoshop. It had the same sort of responsiveness with the click wheel, the same sort of responsiveness with coming into contact with the 3D model in Substance Painter. So in terms of cross-program, cross-app support, it felt really good and it was quite responsive. Now, in the past, XP Pen, I've had some issues with different apps, but this time it all seems to work quite flawlessly. Now, going into the process of texturing in 3D, when it comes to different techniques and stuff like that, sometimes I use the mouse, sometimes I use the brush, and it really depends on the kind of patterning I'm going with, the kind of repetitions in the textures, that sort of stuff. But largely I use it with a few generators and a few layer masks and stuff like that. So texturing was quite quick. But I will say this as a side note for those who are thinking of doing texturing between Blender and Substance Painter, is don't be afraid to redo your UVs if they're not working out for you with the design you want to achieve, okay? I have to reset the UVs on this character, I think 3 times, especially around the legs, to get the fishnets to work the way that I want. So don't be discouraged about doing that if you have to. So here I am using Illustrator now, so with the tablet, to create the pattern. I bring that pattern into Substance Painter, and then I use that as a mask to create the fishnets. Really simple stuff. Really effective way of doing things as well, especially when you don't want to have to pay for more texture packs. So just do them yourself. Now, you'll notice that I probably will have to redo the hair because I have to scale up the character and change the material. But that's what you got to do sometimes. And of course, using the tablet to mask out different parts of the fishnet to get the little tears and stuff. Again, really nice to use with the tablet. Really responsive, really precise, and did exactly what I wanted to do. So no wobbles, nothing like that, which was great. So upon finishing the textures, we are going to bring those textures out from Substance Painter and put them into Blender for the final rendering.
All right, so we got pretty much the whole model done. Now let's get some animation in there. Let's get some rigging there. I actually used some AI motion capture tools to do this. Made it a lot easier, a lot faster to just block out my animation using direct reference inside of Blender rather than having to rely on video. So that's been really, really fun. And of course, we have the final render. So let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so what do you think? I actually really enjoy this character. I think it's going to look awesome in the short film that I'm creating alongside the other characters. It's fully eccentric, it's weird, it's over the top, it's ridiculous, and it's awesome. I'm really enjoying that. What do you guys think? Did you like the process? What do you think of the character? Are you excited to see it in another film? Let me know in the comments. And of course, if you want to download the source files for this video, even though I haven't finished the film yet, if you want to get the source files, including the blocking phase, the sculpting phase, the rigging phase, and of course the animation file, you can download it through Patreon today. Just sign up. It'll be available on the Dropbox link there, and you can download that alongside all other kinds of videos and source files as well. So please feel free to continue to support the channel, whether it's through Patreon or through YouTube. Any sort of stand to work with. That's pretty much all been addressed in this brand new tablet. It's got better resolution, the pen is much improved, we've got the kickstand and one cable to connect to the computer, which is a massive improvement in my opinion. That means it elevates itself beyond just being used for students and being used for semi-professionals to being actually worthy of a professional level label. So I would actually recommend this for anyone who plans on having a nice clean desk setup that needs a professional input support for drawing and wants to get a very good bang for their buck. So yes, I will wholeheartedly recommend this tablet. If you are considering going down the XP Pen brand and buying their larger tablets, I would actually recommend you wait until they potentially bring out an updated version for their existing lineup, because the pen on this one is so much better improved than the current lineup for their top tier line that it almost seems like you're going to be wasting a little bit of money. So what I would recommend, either buying the 16-inch and keeping your desk small, or waiting for a upgrade to their most top tier tablet range. Otherwise, there's always other brands to check out as well. Alright, and of course, if you are interested in purchasing a tablet and you are interested in the XP Pen range, I have some affiliate links down below, including some discount codes. So please check it out, see what they are, and of course, it helps to support the channel as well. So again, if you are thinking about buying a tablet and you are interested, feel free to check them out. Be greatly appreciated, and you get some discounts as well. So what's the loss in checking it out? All right. So with that being said, thank you for watching yet again. I'll catch you later. Have fun, and see you in the next video. Cheers.